Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. This is Tony, and you're listening to All Elite Retrospective. I am your host, Tony, and I am joined by my co-host, as always, Dave. Dave, how you doing today?
Great. I'm just, I like to talk so much. I like to talk so much about AEW, and with the new intro and everything, I was just waiting for my cue. I'm just ready. I'm ready to talk about this show. I'm ready to talk about the future of AEW after this show.
Excellent. Well, before we talk about the future, let's talk a little bit about the past. What are we here to talk today, Dave?
That's.
I mean, if people haven't seen the name of the video and the name of the post already.
What are we here to talk about?
We're here to talk about the latest AEW show. We are here to talk about Fight for the Fallen.
Yes, exactly. Very good cause, very good show. Mm-hmm. Pre-show was better this time around, but still, had its moments. Yeah, I just jumping right into the pre-show because I don't think we'll spend much time on it. That librarian gimmick doesn't work that well for Peter Avalon either. I don't know.
It's a good gimmick in theory. Because it's the one thing, it's like, okay, you're supposed to be a pro wrestler. You're supposed to go out there to get a reaction. And the fans are out there having a good time. The last thing they want to be told is to shut up.
Right.
I think the failure of the gimmick is that they gave it to both of them.
Yeah, maybe they don't have any chemistry. I don't know.
I think that's part of it too. It's like, okay, it might have worked on a guy. Because I feel like Leva Bates doesn't really need a gimmick. Like, she already kind of had one. And I don't think she needs the gimmick.
What's her gimmick before?
Blue pants? Yeah.
Oh, she's blue pants. Oh, I had no idea.
The blue hair wasn't enough of a giveaway.
I just, there's plenty of women.
Nothing gets past you, Dave. Nothing gets past you.
I live in Southern California. I'm hip with the people. Like, blue hair is a normal thing for young ladies these days. Or pink hair, right? Whatever kind of multicolored hair. I have to say, damn, I don't know. I've seen a lot better stuff out of her outside of AEW than, I don't know what's going on.
Well, let's put it this way. She wasn't signed by WWE for a reason.
Oh. She's practically everybody under this.
She likes to party, allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly. Got a CYA here.
I don't know, man.
I thought this opener to the pre-show is completely inoffensive. It's like, this is what a pre-show, opener is supposed to be. Just something that sort of it's just there, like for the live crowd. They just want some wrestling, and they're hungry for it, and there's they've been waiting there for a while. So I'm fine with this being a pre-show. I mean, at the same time, I kind of want a really, really good pre-show. That way, people who are watching on one of these streaming apps, I guess. I'm under the impression that the people in the UK have to pay for these shows. So especially for them, you want to give them a really, really good pre-show to be like, hey, you want more of this stuff? We'll pay for it and we'll give you a lot more.
All right, for the hours more, yes.
We'll get into that later.
Inoffensive is a great term for it because, just by traditional wrestling standards, especially if you got new eyes on the product, the last two pre-shows were kind of a train wreck in a certain respect, and this one was just like, this could have totally been a pre-show for any wrestling promotion. I do have a very different opinion on the second match because the Sunny Kiss Peter Avalon match was just like, it was there. They did dial down the librarian gimmick a bit versus Leo Bates' match. From the previous pre-show, but it's just I like Peter Avalon a lot. I don't think the ring, I think he needs a new ring gear for this gimmick. I don't think that robe that he has is kind of like his heel robe on the indie scene with promotions like Championship Wrestling from Hollywood.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like, I don't know, like a Robert Roode, Ric Flair, whatever, but it doesn't work for a librarian, it's not really a librarian's robe, man.
It doesn't show a commitment to the gimmick. Very rarely do I like people that wrestle in in like clothes, but for the Librarian, for an opening match kind of gimmick, it'd be fine with him just wearing, you know, a button-up T-shirt, some slacks or something.
Yeah, sweater vest would work.
Just, you know.
I mean, they still give a vest to freaking Baron Corbin. He's in the main event. What are you gonna do, right? So, exactly. Whatever looks nerdy, right? You know, that's because something nerdy going on. So,
just do a Google image search for Librarian and then just base your gimmick off that.
Yeah, and well, now now you've really boggled my mind that's Blue Pants Leva Bates, because
wow.
I was like, well, is blue hair really what you would? Is that really the hair color that you would see a librarian wear? It's like, well, maybe nowadays it would be, especially a younger librarian.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought that Sunny Kiss's entrance with the Jacksonville Jaguar cheerleaders made him look like Big League, Like,
yeah, I like those one.
Yeah, and the mascot too. I'm not sure what the mascot's name is, but he's some kind of cat, a jaguar even, And it was this, Sunny Kiss went over. It was just like, put him out there, got to win. The librarian gimmick didn't offend too much this time around. It wasn't that annoying. And you just got to move on. You just got to move forward. Gotta move forward in life. Got to move forward in this pre-show. That was like 5 minutes of just a little something, a little morsel, and then you got a lot more out of this women's tag match. Riho and Britt Baker teaming up against Bea Priestley from Stardom, Stardom champion. And Shoko Nakajima. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's
good enough to me.
Yeah, sure. Shoko and Priestley went over. They looked great. Man, I have not seen Priestley before, but I was very impressed with her in-ring ability, and I was really impressed with this match. I was very happy with it. I felt like it was a very substantial women's tag match. Made everybody look better and the promotion look better to have it on the pre-show. But man, Priestley looks like the spitting image of Johnny Lawler or China for me, like in the face. Just not get over it.
I was about to say, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Some folks are into that stuff, Dave.
I'm not, friend. I'm just saying, I mean, the woman was in Playboy, so certainly it's not too much of a dig, or anything. It just looks, she facially looks a lot like Johnny Lawler to me. So, I'm sure I'm not the first one to make that. I was really actually surprised that the comparison wasn't made during the pre-show. Wow, this woman looks a lot like China, but, she's been around a few years. She's kind of an impressive women's wrestler that I just haven't been exposed to yet. So, I don't know. It was I was one of the best matches of the night, in my opinion. Yeah. How did you feel about it?
I'm really loving the Japanese women, and I understand the point of them on the card is to sort of help them with I mean, that's not a dig at the American women. They're pretty good too, but the Japanese women I feel like are on a completely different level. And
absolutely.
Yeah, and I don't want to dismiss the American women, but really, the Japanese women I feel I would prefer them just wrestling each other because their matches are really good. I understand part of it's like, well, they want to get the American talent over, and then they kind of want, like, if they work with the Japanese women enough, that they'll get to their level. But in the meantime, it's like, yeah, but I want to see them wrestle each other. I'm like, they have really good matches. And the American women, for the most part, don't deteriorate from it. But at the same time, it's like, can I just watch them wrestle a couple times? I know Double or Nothing had the one all Japanese women match, and that was great.
Fantastic. Yeah.
I just want a couple of matches with just the Japanese women.
Yeah, I hear you. It's like their women division reminds me a lot of the early days of the WCW Cruiserweight division.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot going on there. There's a lot of American wrestlers that they would fit in there, but like the bread and butter was really like, the international talent, the luchadors in the case of the Cruiserweight division for WCW, and the Yoshis here for the women division. I think, there's Britt Baker and, some of the other women are pretty substantial, pretty still look good here. But yeah, I mean, you know, I do prefer just seeing the Yoshis wrestle. That's true. You know, we're here to be honest. You know, so, like you can just wrestle all day long, and I'll watch it pretty much. So
exactly,
you know, they know what they're doing. But yeah, going into the main show, just gonna breeze past the pre-show here and talk about the 6-man tag. That was, I thought, was really thrown together on almost on paper, but then made perfect sense when it was all kind of like put out there. You had MJF, Sean Spears, two like just the most despicable heels in the company, and their little buddy, Sammy Guevara, who's just fucking annoying. I mean, I'm still not, I don't really think he necessarily belongs in AEW, but he is annoying as fuck.
Yeah, I was about to say, I understand what you mean from a talent point of view, but he's just got such a punchable face. It's like, okay, I'm not against him being the promotion.
Yeah, it's just like he does do that well. He does make me think like, oh god, just break his neck already or something. not really, not what kind of, you know, but not really, no.
Not shoot break his neck, kayfabe break his neck.
Kayfabe, sure. They took on the team that also looked thrown together, but then it was like, okay, these are like actually like all the like kind of like the hardcore wrestlers. They're Jim Cornette's favorite team. Janela, Darby Allin, who both have shown a ton of promise in the Fyter Fest show, and they're teaming up with Jimmy Havoc, who has not been high on either. I've thought like, oh god, he's like the very bottom.
Neither of us have been.
Yeah,
he looks like just a fan out there.
Yeah,
like he's got a great setup when he comes to the ring, but once he starts wrestling, he just looks like a dude. You know what I mean?
Because it's so true, right? And I don't even think the gimmick's good. I'm like, this is like something just picked out of the, you know, the Goodwill, you know.
And the worst part is, I as someone who regularly watches Being the Elite, they try to put over them signing him as like a big deal. So then when I finally saw him, I was like, oh, I don't know. I understand a lot of good talents already signed out there, but you still got a lot of good people that weren't on this show. I'm like, maybe don't book Jimmy Havoc.
I think, you know, in every wrestling promotion, you have a bottom and you have a top card, and guys move up the card if it's a good promotion. If it's WCW back in the day, they don't, no matter how talented they are. But, you know, I'm finding this an interesting aspect of AEW, and if you base it off of their last 3 shows, what we know about the company, there's like no pecking order whatsoever in the company. You know, like there is like, yeah, Cody and the Bucks and Omega, they're like your top guys, you know, Jericho, Moxley, you know, like top guys. But like, you know, one day Darby Allin's going 20 minutes with Cody Rhodes. The next day he's like in a 6-man opener, you know, that's,
I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to get guys over, but the problem is you can't get everybody over. There's gotta be a pecking order. There's gotta be guys that are on the top, guys that are in the middle, guys that are on the bottom. You can't get everybody over. You gotta have some people there to do the job.
I don't know. I'm gonna wait and see, because now I finally get what they're trying to go for there. I think they're just like, oh, there's no pecking order, and everybody is a superstar, and everybody can have a great match, and you know, like, you know, any night can be a great night if you're in a real sport like boxing or UFC. There are times when, you know, you see total upsets, you know, or, you know, you just out of nowhere, and you know, any night can be a lucky night for one fighter and not such a lucky night for the other. You know, somebody can be out their game. And so, I don't know. I'm going to wait. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just going to say I'm going to take a wait and see approach to this. Because so far, pretty good.
I got 2 things about that. Well, the first one is, okay, yeah, you're sort of right in the sense that they're not on TV yet, so nothing's really set in stone. I feel like up until this point, they're just playing for whatever's, but when they finally get on TV, they should be playing for keeps. Because I'm like, the point of this match really was supposed to be getting Sean Spears over. And it's like, I don't know if you necessarily do that with a 6-man tag.
Right. But, yeah, I mean, if they really wanted to get him ready for Cody, I don't think they should have just thrown him out there in a 6-man tag. period.
What I would have done is I would have just had Shawn Spears go out there and beat Darby Allin like 3 minutes, just to like.
Well,
no, and with the story of Cody couldn't beat him in 30 minutes, but he was able to beat him in 3. It's like, oh man, Shawn Spears is like a giant threat to Cody.
Right. I would say more like 10, but yeah, good enough. 10. Well, maybe not 10, maybe 11.
Yeah, in other words, you want to put Shawn Spears over because he's not as over as Cody. So you require, some work. And then Darby Allin's the guy who took Cody to the limit. So if you really want to put over Shawn Spears, have him beat the guy Cody couldn't.
Absolutely. And that's what happened. I mean, that was like, ultimately became the story of this match. At the very end was like, Shawn Spears did pin Darby Allin, and that's something Cody couldn't do. He did in 13 minutes in the context of a 6-man tag. But, ultimately, yes. I mean, if we're going to just, put it out there, the armchair booker, yes, a singles match between Darby Allin and Shawn Spears would have made a lot more sense, and it would have put over Shawn Spears a lot more for, All Out. But, this was a great match. I thought
they don't have TV yet, so you really can't be too critical, I feel.
Right, exactly. I thought everybody that looked good in this match, even Guevara a little bit. Even Jimmy Havoc looked like he was a wrestler at one point in the match. So that it was like, wow, okay. Like, I guess he did get trained. He did run the, he doesn't know how to run the ropes and this and that. So, he's just anyway, I'm not going to say anything bad about him because he did look okay in this match. He looks passable, so, once he puts out, next show, if he looks awful, I'll go off on him on that. But, he looks like he knew what he was doing. And, it's a good follow up for Janela and Darby Allin. Both guys who I felt like got really elevated in the last show. But, Jobin, that's, obviously that's not great. But, I don't know. The only thing I really wanted out of this match that I didn't get was MJF doing a promo before the match, because that one at Fyre Fest was awesome, and he's just more and more over by the day. I mean, Dave Meltzer's comparing him to Rowdy Piper. Jim Cornette's like sucking his dick whenever he gets a chance. So I mean, MJF is he's money, and he's got. And honestly, there's been a couple wrestlers over the years that when they come out to the ring or I'm going to see him on a show, I want to see him on the mic. And one of them was the Dudley Boys in ECW. Another one was The Rock back in the 90s. And another one was rapping John Cena. All right. So that one maybe not be as cool as the other two, but but, I want to see MJF on the mic. He was on the mic, and I thought that would have been great if he was on the mic. But, hey, maybe save it for next show. I don't know.
Exactly.
But, yeah, great. I thought it was a good match. Got over a lot of guys, and did exactly what it's supposed to do. Next match, Brandy Rhodes versus Allie. Yeah, there's a totally confusing story with Brandy Rhodes because they have this all sympathetic video and then she's totally playing the heel. Comes out and then before match she announces Awesome Kong ringside, which totally mentally intimidates Allie, goes for that whole thing, doing kind of like a Shawn Michaels Diesel thing. I don't know, it's like that's her bodyguard is Awesome Kong. Allie looked okay. This match was just kind of there, and probably that. I mean, you don't want to put absolutely your worst stuff on the pre-show, like we mentioned, but this one switched to the pre-show, and we got the women's tag match instead. That probably would have made more sense. I don't know. Any thoughts on this match?
The less said about it. If you don't have anything nice to say, Dave, don't say anything at all. So that's why I've been predominantly quiet about this match. I did like the setup for Awesome Kong versus Aja Kong. That's a match I'm really pumped for now. But yes. I don't have very much nice things to say.
Like Awesome Kong did get good pop when they announced her, definitely. And I should mention, because, just visually coming up in my mind, that the setup for this entire, where they had this venue here, the venue looked fantastic, and I just thought it looked really cool, and it was outdoors and great looking venue. And Awesome comes out, big pop for her. Aja comes out, also big pop, and people really want to see that Kong off, and hopefully we get it all out.
Exactly. Pumped.
Okay. And maybe I was gonna make a Donkey Kong joke, but no, I'm just gonna.
No, now we have to hear it.
Maybe no, to forget it. No Kong.
You're no fun.
No, it's good. We had a triple threat tag team match for a shot to face best friends all out, and the winner of that gets a bye past the first round of the tag team tournament. They're going to have to really explain that tag team tournament to me, because that just sounds like a first round match now. Maybe it's a one night tournament they're going to have, although I've been told, I think I've heard from Khan himself that it was going to be over the course of several weeks. But anyways, that being said, you had Dark Order, the original Super Smash Bros. Player Uno, Player Dos, but they're Grace and Uno in AEW. And Evans and Angelico, and of course Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, who's becoming a more and more popular act in AEW. And this was a fun match. This was a really well put together match. The right team went over because there's something obviously building between the Dark Order and Best Friends. They've been definitely going for that. Only thing is, Dark Order probably looked like the team that least deserved to go over in this match.
The thing is that they're good in the ring, it's just their gimmick is doing nothing for them.
Right, it's totally dragging them down. So, it's, would we say it's worse than the Librarian gimmick?
I say yes, because the Librarian gimmick is just an opening match gimmick character, whereas the Dark Order is supposed to be a credible threat to, like, per se, the Bucks, and it's just like, no, it's not. It's really not. It's really just like amateur, like indie level stuff, and it's just like, this doesn't belong in All Elite Wrestling.
That's such a really good point, and I think I would have go a little further on it. And again, you have to look at the position of the cards and how strongly something's being pushed. But when I see the Librarian gimmick, I think bad WWE, or even sadly, just like WWE currently. But when I see this Dark Order gimmick, I think bad indie gimmick. So, WWE still a little more big league than just like a random indie. And either way, they're both bad gimmicks. But yeah, one just looks even more low rent than the other. And, maybe the Librarian should have gone over here.
And the worst part is, the team they should be building up for the Bucks is Angelico and Jack Evans. Like, they're the victims, I feel, for a promotion that feels the need to kind of keep everybody at a certain level. They certainly don't mind beating Jack Evans and Angelico like a drum. It's like, yeah, I really want to see them versus the Bucks, but I don't get the feeling we're going to get that.
Maybe like when they do their tag team tournament, we'll get a first round match, because they're like kind of like lower, much lower on the rung than the Bucks. But you got to have somebody for the Bucks go over in the first round of the tag team tournament. So maybe that. You're right. I think they are getting not exactly as many opportunities as maybe other people in the promotion are. So, and I mean, the Jungle Boy Luchasaurus thing is kind of like thrown together, but it's over. And they are getting some opportunities, and definitely get more opportunities to kind of shine and all that. So,
and Marco Stunt was also in this, in this match, intervened, and I felt like you're just getting the Jungle Boy Luchasaurus gimmick over. I don't know if now's the time to introduce something to it.
Yeah,
like add to it. It's like, okay, you have a good thing going. You sort of. It sort of just happened and you just ran with it, and it's a really cool gimmick. But just to add something to it, it's like, it's a little soon. Like, let us get used to them being a tag team, then you can add to the gimmick.
it's certainly more for the sake of market stunt than it is for their gimmick.
Exactly.
So, yeah. It also doesn't help Jungle. I mean, maybe the thought is it'll make Jungle Boy look like bigger, but it more looks like there's a cute kid hanging off a dinosaur. Well, he got really long here. He looks like, he can be an adult one day. No, I'm just kidding. All right, let's move forward.
That's mean.
Stunt is very talented. I'm a fan. I appreciate just working GCW, especially.
Oh yes.
Just want to say that. But all right, so Adam Page versus Kip Sabian. So Kip Sabian was that guy who had that really boring vanilla match with Sammy Guevara, first singles match in AEW history at Double or Nothing. He went over that match, and he's totally the wrong guy for Hangman Page to wrestle. I don't care what the situation is, it was totally the wrong guy to put him in there with, because he has no credibility to give to Page at this point. Even though he did get over, like, in that one little match on the pre-show that happened 2 months ago. It's still like this guy has no credibility going in, really. And he's wrestling Adam Page, who's this is his last match before he wrestles Jericho at All Out. And I'm not even getting into the match yet, but I'm just saying, like, on paper, this made absolutely no sense. It should have been somebody like MJF to make Adam Page look really strong for the win to mean something.
Well, if you're talking about on paper, this match does make sense on paper, because had he just gone out there and beat him in like 5 minutes, on paper, that would have made sense. Because you want him to go out there, look really strong, look like a main eventer, and just have him just smoke Kip Sabian in like 5 minutes.
Oh, like just put him over in 5 minutes, like that.
Yeah, it's like we're not talking about the match like you just mentioned earlier. We're talking about just on paper, and it's like I kind of disagree with you. On paper, it's like, okay, you want to put over Adam Page really strong because he's going up against Jericho. It's like, okay, I can get behind that.
Only in the sense that, like, if you think that, back in the day when we just had total job matches to lead into pay-per-views, where you had shows with just all job matches and made the superstars look really strong against the guys that weren't so good. Like, sure, but because I can't really, before this match, again, on paper, before this match, Sabian had nothing to give to Adam Page other than just be a body in the ring so Page could, go over on him, and that's it. So if he went over somebody more substantial, it would have been, I think, more. But anyway, the match itself, if you forget, like, where the position of the company, I thought it was a really entertaining match. I actually thought it was pretty good. And I am willing to kind of, like, now not dog Kip Sabian so much, honestly. I thought he held his own. I completely blame that terrible pre-show match on Sammy Guevara. So, but 19 minutes with Adam Page, again, just the booking of that just makes, it just screams to me that there must be a mantra backstage that's like, there is no pecking order. Everybody's important in this company.
It's more so like, let's try to get everybody over. And it's like, I don't know if I subscribe to that gimmick.
Not the expensive guys who don't have the credibility to give already. Like, with somebody like Darby Allin and Cody going 20 minutes, like, Cody already had the credibility. Adam Page, maybe internally they think he's at that level of, like, a Cody and the Bucks and Omega and all that. But he doesn't have quite that credibility yet. And so, yeah, it just doesn't, he needs to build that credibility, and he'll certainly, he's thrust into that credibility no matter what against Jericho at All Out, and I feel like that'll be like that'll make him a star, like, as far as give him that credible star level.
I just don't know if going, toe to toe with, Kip Sabian, that's the way you get Adam Page ready for Jericho.
No, it really isn't. It's something. It's the kind of match that you have like maybe on a house show. That's a lot more competitive between two wrestlers, because they're just like, well, we're here to entertain the fans that are here. It's not something that you kind of put on nationally and, like, put those guys on equal footing at all. So it was a little silly from that perspective. But I don't know. I mean,
I'm willing to be more forgiving because they don't have TV yet. If this is what they're going to produce on television, then yeah, I'll probably get upset. But really, at this point, I feel like they're just practicing, so it's really hard to get emotionally, upset over stuff like this. It's like, well, okay, they don't have TV yet, so I guess all this stuff sort of kind of doesn't matter.
And I feel like there's traditional rules of wrestling that wrestling has gotten to the point where your traditional rules of wrestling, like WWE stuff, just mainstream kind of stuff you've been force fed over and over again for years. A lot of those rules are breaking. The reason why companies like AEW exists is because it's something different and it's something that's really entertaining on anybody's book and anybody's ear. But it has definitely a timeless quality to it. But at the same time, it's also just doing a lot of new stuff that's different, and creative. And so, I've been thinking about this, and I'm like, everybody's so worried about when they go on TNT, and like they got to be like this, they got to be like that, and they got to paint by numbers and do all the things that are right to be a good wrestling company, Mm-hmm. And it's like maybe they don't have to. Maybe they don't fucking have to. They just have to do new shit, Mm-hmm. And we're willing to watch it. I'm certainly, when I watch a show like this, even though I see the flaws and maybe even the logical flaws in it, I'm still enjoying it a lot more than anything on WWE television.
Okay.
So, but with this is an alternative opinion. There's a lot of again, a lot of the traditional way of looking at things. But I don't know. I just feel like it's like Omega, man. He's doing art in that ring. It's like it's art. But maybe you don't put guys like the Librarians in for like longer than a 5-minute segment, and maybe get rid of that Dark Order gimmick.
Agreed.
Dark Order looks like Chris Jericho is an unofficial member of the Dark Order because he was masked as one of their like underlings or whatever, and he attacked Adam Page after the match. It was so funny to me because the commentators were acting like, "Oh, who is this guy?" What's the Dark Order trying to do with Adam Page? And it's like it was the most obvious thing ever that was Chris Jericho from like the very second I saw it. So,
yes.
I don't know. Did they fool you for a moment, Tony?
No, it's because I've seen the thing with like Bushi before in New Japan. It's like, okay, I've seen them do it before. Maybe, you know what? I'll say this much. There couldn't be fans that have not seen that before.
But still, though, if you look at the guy, like this, the way the body type was and the eyes with the mask and everything, it was just like very obvious to me that it was Jericho. Like,
yeah.
away. Like physically, it just didn't look like it was anybody else but Chris Jericho. It was just that's definitely Jericho. I don't know. Yes. Maybe I just know that body very well.
Agreed.
But yeah, then we got like a match we can't judge, or I guess we can judge it, but can't complain about it all. I think. I mean, SCU and Lucha Bros.
So, okay, for all the complaining about pecking order, this was exactly what I want at AEW. SCU are so over, but at the same time, they're kind of a comedy gimmick. So the idea of them going out there getting beaten, it's like, okay, I feel like SCU is so over they can sort of beat them like a drum and they'll still be over.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they can do anything. They can also they can put him over. They can lose a match, in 5-10 minutes, whatever, on one week, and the next week be in the main event. And like they have the credibility. I mean, Daniels has always had the credibility. Kazarian really is pretty close to that level as well, and Sky is like one of the best athletes in the company. So I mean, it's they have that they're over. They have the credibility, so you can do anything with them. They're kind of like what DX was back in like the rise of the Attitude Era. Like they could just put them in anything, it's going to get over. So
exactly.
Yeah, but I very entertaining match, one of the best matches of the night for sure. My second favorite match actually, and Lucha Bros set up after beating SCU, set up a ladder match for All Out, and that's pretty much what needed to happen if they were going to have another match with the Bucks. You need to get them over a top team that's over in the company. After very entertaining match. and get a win for the Lucha Bros, and then set up something different. And that being the ladder match, and that definitely, that puts some butts in the seats. So I'm looking forward to that match a lot.
Agreed.
Kenny Omega and CIMA, first time ever confrontation, which I did not know this was their first time they wrestled. And I don't know. I mean, they mentioned it a couple times, but like I was like, oh my god, I guess this is their first time. And never in PWG or anywhere in Japan. That's very, CIMA, I didn't know had this still in him, but he was.
Well, yeah, you're right. So, like, especially from Double or Nothing, he looked kind of slow. He looked kind of heavy, and it's like, oh, okay, well, he's kind of old, and maybe that's what's going to be his role in this company, sort of being like the old warhorse that can still hold his own, but really is there primarily to do jobs. And it's like, no, he went out there and had the dream match with Kenny Omega here.
Yeah, absolutely. And he wasn't from a standpoint of like, oh, Kenny had to slow down a little bit, and they did a more psychological match because, CIMA may not have it physically anymore, but he certainly has it mentally. No, they didn't do any of that. CIMA was rocking 100% physically, mentally. It was, one of those, it was a perfect showcase match for Omega in the world where we're being, if one has to be hypersensitive and they were going to introduce Kenny Omega to the world, this would be the match they would start with. It was just, fantastic. It did everything Kenny Omega, it's a Kenny Omega showcase. And, Omega's matches, especially a match like this, kind of reminds me of like, Rod Van Dam matches in ECW, where it was just like, you just put the man in the ring with another really talented individual, and they just did art, showcase 20-25 minutes, and it was by far, I mean, in my opinion, this is the best thing on the show, like by a lot, and one of the best matches I've seen in AEW so far.
My only real criticism of this match, and it's really kind of nitpicky, is when I was looking at this card, I was like, yeah, that could be the match of the night. And after watching it, my only real critique is that probably should have been the main event.
Oh, yeah.
In my opinion, I don't know if you agree the same way, but I definitely feel like this should have been the main event.
Yeah, and again, since they do all sorts of unconventional things, like, yes, it should have been the main event. Again, on paper, it doesn't, I mean, Omega, CIMA, I don't. The thing is, after Double or Nothing, the match that's gotten the most talk and the most interest in AEW as far as like something to look forward to that the company's produced, it's the Bucks and the Rhodes Brothers. Like that definitely screams main event on paper. But and that's why that was. But Omega and CIMA, it's like, oh yeah, you definitely could have put that in the main event, and then maybe the Omega Rose match would have been, and again, you can have like the main, maybe the main draw of the show be in the middle of the show or the second, to last match. So, at the end of the day, yeah, Omega CIMA should have been the last match. I agree.
Very good match.
Yeah, absolutely. Next match, the Young Bucks and the Rhodes Brothers, Cody and Dustin. The Brotherhood, that's their official term. I just like to call them the Rhodes Brothers. But, this was really good. I really liked it. It was maybe one of those matches where, you expected, so much from it already that you weren't able to appreciate what you got as much because you kind of blew it out of your mind. Expectations, were too high, but, I would have cut like 10 minutes out of this match. It did go a little long in the end. Just kind of felt like, okay, well, they should have wrapped this thing up a little earlier. But overall, great, quality main event. And Bucks go over and Rhodes look strong and they make you want to, I know Cody, that's the thing with Sean Spears, but I also really want to see the Rhodes Brothers team up again. The Brotherhood, be a major force in the tag team title tournament. I think that would be a nice little feature of the tournament. But yeah, that's pretty much how I felt about the entire thing. How did you feel?
I feel like you pretty much said this was a really great match. As someone who, still sort of watches WWE. I remember the Rhodes Brothers being a hell of a tag team. They went out there and had great matches with like the Shield and Usos, and it's like, okay, a lot of people I think are gonna sleep on this match, thinking, oh well, okay, Cody and Dustin, okay, maybe that match turned out really good, but I still not a big fan of those two guys. But really, I've seen them in tag team matches before. They're fantastic. They can definitely hold their own, as you've definitely seen in this match. They can hold their own with the Bucks, and I feel like they slow down a little, but not too much. I imagine there's probably people that are thinking, oh, well, it's going to be Dustin, so they're really going to have to slow down. Not really. I mean, obviously, Cody. The last couple of shows, Cody has had the best match on the card. So, I kind of trust Cody's ability to slow things down, still tell a really good match. So, yeah, this match wasn't as good, but at the same time, it's like, well, they sort of earned they've sort of shown that they can keep up with the Bucks, and maybe they're not as good as them, but, you put them in on a main event of any card, it's like, no one's going to think twice.
No, yeah, it's one of those matches that felt like a draw, Yeah, as I said earlier, I mean, I really liked Moxley and Joey Janela a lot from the last show, but it's not quite like something on paper that really feels like a main event. And this one, again, felt like a big main event, and just entertained and did what it was supposed to do. And I have like just such a high opinion on Dustin, but not everybody's going to share that. I mean, man's like in his early 50s now, so. Yeah, it's like the fact that he can go on that level is pretty incredible. So, but yeah, a lot of great synergy between the two teams. So that kind of closes things off. We will be off for a while because AEW is off for a while.
as the AEW exclusive podcast, it's kind of hard to do more content without stuff for us to watch.
Yeah, for actual shows, yeah. So that said, we are going to do a show that will be posted on August 29th, so mark it on your calendars, 2 days before All Out, and it'll be a preview show leading into All Out, and of course we'll review that show as well the following week. And yeah, All Out, don't want to, obviously I want to say that for the preview show, but it looks like a pretty loaded card at this point. Moxley and Omega, Cody and Shawn Spears, the Bucks, and Lucha Bros ladder match. Maybe we'll get Kong versus Kong. Yeah, fantastic show.
That's a stacked show.
Yeah.
I feel like that's been sort of the weakness of AEW, and especially this show, where they feel the need to just book a bunch of stuff, and it's like, okay, I guess these matches are going to be good. But at the same time, you could just book like 2, 3, maybe 4 blockbuster matches and just throw in a bunch of other cards, just sort of flesh out, maybe a 3-hour show, and that's good enough.
Yeah, I thought that this show could have gone a little shorter, to be honest.
Yeah, I felt the 4+ hours was really pushing it, and I was like, okay, I understand you're trying to get everybody in all these angles over, but it's at the expense of us who have to watch a 4-hour show.
And I have a curiosity generally about what they're planning to do. Like, I think maybe with this show and the last show wasn't like, certainly, I don't know. They're going to do 4 pay-per-views a year. I don't think they're going to do these free shows once they do the TNT deal. Mm-hmm. And these are almost like soft runs for TNT, like what they feel like they need to do because they don't have a TV show now to get to like the next, big pay-per-view, to build things up a little bit and also try some things out and see like what they have to work with, So, once I think the TNT deal goes through with the 2 hours a week, what we'll see weekly hopefully will resemble, something like what we're getting here, maybe something even better. And, then we're just going to get, 4 pay-per-views a year, which it's a pretty good plan, I'd say.
Yeah, I all but forgot about that. I was like, yeah, they're really stacking the next pay-per-view. I don't know what they're going to do for the next one after that. But then, I forgot they're only doing the 4 a year, which is really cool because that means you can have really awesome stacked pay-per-views.
Yeah, exactly. And then those pay-per-views, even at a price of $50, which is a little steep, but they feel like massive, and like I don't know, like the pay-per-views used to feel massive when I was a kid. There was only 4 pay-per-views a year, and man, those were massive shows. And I feel like what AEW does as far as like what they did Number of Nothing, what they unofficially did with All In, and what they're putting together for All Out, those are really beyond stacked, beyond what we even got back when we were kids on pay-per-views. Because there was a lot of crap if you really look at those old WWF pay-per-views and WCW pay-per-views. So there's nothing but shine here. So looking forward to it. But yeah, I guess that's it for us till the 29th, August 29th. Check out the pod.
Excellent. So, all right. So from all of us at halfguard.com, thanks for checking out this show. And as always, catch you guys next time. Adios.